Welcome to the Balls Talk Sports NFL podcast. I'm Elson Gratz. That's Victor Ratliff. And it's Thanksgiving break, baby. Let's clap at us for us making this far.
Yeah, I mean, impressive.
It's been a long semester.
It really has.
I
I'm
personally
tired.
love the schedule of go home for a week and then come back for 2 weeks and then go home for a month. It's nice.
I mean, it's not that bad, but it does coincide very nicely with the start of draft season and right as we go down the final stretch of the NFL season. So we get to get tape in on that. But as far as school goes, I'm not sure if that's the best scenario, though. I've heard this is according to our sources, not confirmed. No, it is confirmed, I think. TU is adding a fall
I know
break.
where you're going.
Yeah, for it's two days. So I mean, really, but it's good. It's nice. I don't know how much of a break it'll be.
One thing I love about that impending fall break is that it will ruin my tradition of driving and or flying home on my birthday every year,
Wow.
December 19th, because like every semester, and I assume this will continue into the future without failure, I always have the latest possible final, at least one final on that day. In fact, usually what it is I have like 4 really early ones, and then I have one a week later on the last day. And so now, since finals are pushed back a little bit, I'll be flying home after my birthday.
Do you think they're going to push back finals a bit for that or no?
I
They didn't
have
say
heard
anything
that
about
they
that.
will. I've heard that we get out a little bit later.
That's lame. I mean, I get it,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I know. I asked someone in student government what the caveat was going to be, and there was like, there is none. So we get out 2 days later.
As
Something
you
to
can
look
tell,
forward to, I guess.
yeah, as you can tell, we are not in the studio today. Some fuck ups caused by yours truly did not allow us to be there today, but it's all right. You know what? I like these. I like the online just as much as the studio because it gets hot in that studio, man. It gets hot. So it's nice to be here in our cool rooms, but also you get to see and us a little bit better, and plus we'll have like maybe a little bit of a nice little graphic put up. Though I honestly I doubt it because I don't think I'll have the time to do that with the predictions episodes. But with like mock drafts and player rankings for the draft, we get to have like nice little graphics and those are cool. So it's not necessarily bad that we're out of the studio, but we do like to be in the studio. The audio quality is much better.
I like the setup personally. Like,
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the studio will always have a special place in my heart, but this kind of gives me nostalgia. Nostalgia for what we were doing like 3 months ago. Nostalgia for draft season.
That
I
was
like
awesome.
it. I don't mind it at all.
That was awesome. The hardcore, all that tape watching leading up to these big episodes, like that was cool. And I honestly think during draft season, we'll probably do a mix of this in the studio just because it's more important during draft season to have those graphics up so you guys know who we're talking about. Just get a baseline stat level of all of these guys. I think it's a little bit more fun for us. Plus, I love these episodes because I get to look at my computer. I get to have these stats on hand because we record Facecam through the computer when we're in the studio. So I'll definitely need that for some draft episodes, I think.
You're an absolute trooper for just pulling out the notebook for most of our episodes.
It's okay. I'm talking out of my ass the entire time, no matter if I have the computer or not. So it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Have we ever watched football before? Stay tuned to find out.
It really doesn't feel like it, especially with some teams. Like we're going to talk about a team today that I'm pretty confident. I don't think I picked a game right of them yet. Like legitimately. Spoiler alert, it's the Panthers. I don't think I've picked a Panthers game right once. It's hilarious.
Well, there's some foreshadowing. This week we are previewing every NFL game of Week 12 before we get out of here. We got to do our obligatory Thanksgiving mention, so let's just get that out of the way. If you're going home like I am, what food are you most looking forward to?
That's a good question. You know what? I'm having 2 Thanksgivings this year, and one I'm cooking for one of them, and I have opted, with the permission, of course, from the people attending, to not go with the turkey route because we're getting turkey another day. I'm gonna be cooking wings. All right. And I gotta think that this is the next American evolution in Thanksgiving. This is the perfect Thanksgiving food, wings. There's a bunch for everybody. I'm making 40 or 50. I don't know how many yet, but you get a bunch of flavors. It's really easy to make all those flavors relatively cheap. Like I'm not spending too much on these wings. You know what I'm saying? Because first of all, I'm cheap and I know how to cook chicken. So I'm going to get buffalo wings. We're going to get lemon pepper. We're going to get barbecue, plain, whatever y'all want. You know what I mean? I'm excited for my wings. Do I think they'll be good? I don't know. I haven't cooked wings too many times. We'll just have to see. I'm excited to see how people like this evolution with what I'm doing. Remember it when you hear 10 years from now, when they're talking about Thanksgiving, they're saying, hey, when are the Thanksgiving wings coming out? Remember who pioneered it. You heard it here first. What about you, Austin? What are you looking forward to most?
Well, personally, I think it's inevitable that wings just become the food of every single holiday.
Yeah.
Like it's just natural progression. It's like diffusion. It's just the point it's going to trend toward. I'm looking forward to the cranberry sauce. I like that it's sour and not really very pleasant. Reminds me of myself. Excited for that.
Oh no. You know what? The cranberry sauce also reminds me of the Arizona Cardinals because they're sour and not very pleasant to watch. But you're a pleasant person to listen to talk about football, at least, Elson. I'm just kidding.
Thank you. Thank you.
Elson's a very pleasant person.
Are we ready to get into our games of the week?
Let's do it. I don't know if we'll have a Thanksgiving episode, so this may be the last time you see us for a couple of weeks, and then after that finals is here, so who knows? So cherish this episode, all right?
We might need to take a breather, but for now we are here.
That's true. That's true.
All right, so my game of the week is the 8-2 Indianapolis Colts headed to Arrowhead to take on the 500 Kansas City Chiefs. They're sitting at 5-5. KC favored by a little over a field goal at home. And I want to open this one up by talking about Daniel Jones. He's been in the limelight a little bit recently, for better or for worse. He's got 9 turnover-worthy plays in the last 2 games. That's what's really taken all the credit. I think the narrative is right. Some people are starting to think that he's the guy that we all thought that he was heading into the year. I agree with that. I think Daniel Jones is still the quarterback that we saw with the Giants. Big time throw rate is by no means a perfect stat. I think it leaves a lot of really nice throws on the field if they occur in the short to intermediate area. If the quarterback sort of opens that up with anticipation, they don't get recorded as big time throws. That's why I don't love it. But at the end of the day, I do think it's a decent proxy for how aggressive is your offense asking you to be and how well are you executing that. He's 34th out of 41 qualified passers this year, middle of the pack in pressure to sack ratio, middle of the pack in average depth of target. I, at the end of the day, think that he's a play action merchant with a really good offensive line, a really good receiving core, a really good rushing attack who just does enough in this offense. And against the Kansas City Chiefs, you know what? I don't really think it's going to matter because the Chiefs have been abysmal against the play action pass so far this year. It's mostly because their defensive line can't beat blocks in that phase. They have a 1.6% sack rate on play action passes.
Gosh.
Absolutely egregious. Bottom in the NFL by a mile. Jones isn't going to be under much pressure. I think the running attack is going to get going, and I think the Colts are going to be able to stay on script.
I mean, I agree. Like, there's just, you watch Kansas City play, and there's just not much fight in this team. There's not much physicality, right? And how have the Colts won throughout this entire season? It's been beating up on these guys in the trenches, allowing Jonathan Taylor to run wild. And Kansas City is just not going to have that mentality. At least they're not coming into that game with this mentality of we want it more than you do. We haven't seen that from them yet this year. And we have seen that from Indianapolis. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the Colts are going to need to throw it. Like, if they do, I think they'll be fine doing that as well, because it's not like Kansas City's been anything special in the secondary, but they might just be able to run the ball 50 times and win this game against Kansas City.
I like that you point out that it doesn't feel like the Chiefs have much fight. Dude, I'm taken aback by that. I totally don't understand it. This team had a ton of fight and energy and just really sort of outcoached you every game last year. They didn't make the mistakes. They did all the little things right. That's certainly a big part of it.
So I don't know. Happened, right?
I mean, I think a big part of that is that Chris Jones has really dropped off, and Chris Jones is kind of their entire pass rush. I think that matters. Maybe Trent McDuffie not playing as well. It scares me to bet against a team like the Chiefs not waking up for a big game, especially because of one key factor. Chiefs are first in strength of schedule. Colts are 30th. I think this is going to be a huge game for almost NFL power scaling. We're going to get a much better sense of where these teams actually lie in the power rankings here, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Going to pick them 25-24. It makes me nervous. I think this one is going to be a battle. I think the Colts are absolutely going to be in it, and we're going to learn a lot from this one. I just can't bet against a team that has Patrick Mahomes and a really good strength of schedule. But are you going to make the upset pick?
I'm surprised that this is an upset, but I am going to make the upset pick. I'm going to take Indianapolis, and it's just like normally I feel the same way that you do. I hate betting against the Chiefs in the big time games when they've been a little bit asleep, but they're coming to the game. Everything's on the line. You need to win this game against a really good team that hasn't played so well against bad teams, and they have a poor strength of schedule. Normally, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. And guess what? I did. I did it last week. The last week's game fit that criteria to a T. And guess what? Kansas City came in unprepared. They came in sleepy, and they lost that game. They should have lost it by more. The Broncos made a lot of mistakes defensively. They had 150 yards of penalty, something that Indianapolis will not do. All right. They got lucky. Kansas City had a pick six called back. They had another interception called back, I think. Unbelievable amount of things had to go right in Kansas City's way to keep them in that game. And they still lost. They got pieced up by Bo Nix. Credit to Bo Nix. He had a fantastic game. But it does beg the question, can Daniel Jones just go in and play that way? Or was that maybe that was just a Bo Nix thing? He had a great game. He plays bigger in the big moments. That was a massive game for Denver. Probably was him. But that does give me some hope that Daniel Jones can come in and play well, right? But it just doesn't seem like Kansas City is awake at all this season. And I don't really have any belief that they're going to wake up for this game. I do think it'll be close because Kansas City plays everybody close. But the difference in this year's team versus last year's team and previous year's teams, it just seems like when those big moments happen, they've faltered. They had a chance to win the game last week. I think down 3, maybe tied, and ball 4 minutes to go, you got a chance to walk down the field, score a touchdown, kick a field goal, or whatever it was, and win the football game. And every single previous Kansas City Chiefs team takes that down the field and wins. This one goes 3 and out. That's the difference. And I think that will come back to bite them in the ass against another well-coached team in another big game against a better run defense. They've been better against the pass than they have been against the run, and Denver beat them without running the football at all. How is that going to look whenever you got one of the best offensive lines in football in the run game in Indianapolis, the best running back in football right now, against that poor run defense? I just don't see a way that this. I don't think that the Kansas City Chiefs are really going to have a leg up. I think they're going to be playing from behind for most of this game. I think it's going to come down to a couple of the final plays. And when it comes down to that, I think Indianapolis just is going to play better. So I'm going to pick the Colts.
What really scares me for the Chiefs is it hasn't just been on defense this year. The offense hasn't really felt cohesive either.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Kelce has been up and down. They've dealt with injuries, but now Rashee Rice has been in the lineup for a while. Yeah, they're using him. Yeah, he's breaking tackles and he's catching slants. He's also had at least one fumble. He's had some drops. He still has all the normal Rashee Rice route tree and verticality, etc. limitations. Their offense just doesn't feel very complete. It doesn't help that they, have probably the worst backfield in the NFL as well. And this Colts defense, they've been really good throughout the year. I think that it was immediately after the trade deadline. Colts played one game. I think they lost in that game, and then they were on bye last week. Did they beat Atlanta?
They beat Atlanta in London, yeah, but it was a weird game. Taylor, another fantastic game for him, man. Nobody's got a better Opoy case than him.
Taylor's on fire, but Sauce Gardner, he was locked down in that game.
Yep.
He was a full-time starter, played the vast majority of their pass snaps. I think he gave up like one catch for less than a first down with a pass breakup. Now you have Sauce Gardner.
He had like one bad play given up that blew up, and then the rest of the game where he was locked down, nobody gives a shit about.
Well, and what I'm so excited for with that is his first game with the Colts. Mm-hmm. Historically, what you see is a guy gets traded in and then he struggles, and it really does take guys a while to get accustomed. If that was Sauce Gardner struggling with Indianapolis, what is he going to look like when he's fully accustomed and when he's playing up to what we knew he can be? And Mooney Ward has been awesome this year. That is a fantastic secondary. Going to make life really hard on Kansas City.
100%. But where I do think Kansas City has an avenue for victory, obviously it's Kansas City. They always have a chance to win. But where I do think that they have an avenue to get back on track, at least offensively, is that Denver was all over him pressure-wise. Now, Josh Simmons pitched a solid game if you just ignore all the holding calls, which the refs did. But overall, Kansas City really, Mahomes was under pressure a lot. Now, was he like, it wasn't like Josh Allen last night against Houston. It wasn't that bad, but he was under a considerable amount of pressure, as he's been a lot this year. That offensive line hasn't been great. But when you look at Indianapolis's defensive line and how they performed, they've been okay, but I don't think that they've been any world beater as far as pressure goes and making the quarterback nervous. You've still got Buckner, but it's been tough to get consistent pressure. If Kansas City's team offensive line could come in there and pitch a solid game, give Mahomes time to throw, I could really see a scenario where he gets back in rhythm and is just finding his open guy. Because when Mahomes is in rhythm, we saw it a couple times in the Denver game. There were a couple of drives where he was clean and it was lights out. He was just playing perfect ball. Rashee Rice is going to be able to get open. Kelsey's going to be able to get open. And that is going to be a great way for them to make this a who is the better quarterback game. If you can keep Mahomes clean, all of a sudden it becomes a who has a better quarterback game, and Kansas City's going to win that game. So I do think that is their avenue. I think that's what they want to happen. They need to come in with an emphasis on keeping Mahomes clean throughout the entire game.
You can never forget that Mahomes, at the end of the day, is still that dude.
Yeah.
He can just go out and beat you single-handedly. And so, obviously, nobody is counting the Chiefs out. But even if the Chiefs are playing the best team in the NFL at the peak of their powers, Patrick Mahomes is always going to give you a chance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are we ready to move on to our second game of the week, your game of the week? Bucs Rams?
We split the first one. I'm curious if we'll split this one. I don't think we will. Yeah, so we're here. We got our second game of the week here. This is my favorite pick of the week, and it's Sunday Night Football too, which is cool. I think we've had a string of a few bad Sunday Night Football games, right? What was last week's? Do we remember? Because Pittsburgh, Los Angeles.
I hardly get to watch Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, no, that was we were recording during that time. Actually, it was Detroit, Philly, and
with 5 turnovers on downs. That was awesome.
Yeah, 5 turnovers on downs, a couple more random turnovers, and 16-9 final score decided on a pass interference. So absolutely awful. But we're due for a good Sunday Night Football game, and I don't think this one will disappoint. Tampa Bay coming off a really rough loss to Buffalo, put up 32 points. Offense was humming. Never seen that run game better this year. It feel like they really unlocked something, and they still lost by multiple possessions because Josh Allen decided to be Superman in the second half. Unfortunately, you are playing another quarterback who can decide to be Superman and ruin your entire game just in a different way. Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams coming off of a massive win over the Seattle Seahawks to propel them to first in the division, and I believe first in the conference. Maybe they're second, but I think they're a Super Bowl favorite now.
I think they are at 8-2. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, but they're definitely the Super Bowl favorite on Vegas wise after that win, and they deserve to win. They looked incredible, and this is just another game for them to prove that they're just that team that can go out there and beat all of the good teams no matter what. I think that this one is going to be a pretty interesting one for Tampa Bay. Because how do you bounce back after last week's game? You give up 44 points, and it didn't even feel like that. Like, you look at how they played defensively. They stopped the run incredibly well. They really did. And they played decently well in the first half, but they still were they should have been up by 2 scores after the first half, and it was tied because of a kick return touchdown. And I think there was kick return or a really nice kick return that got them into field position at least.
They could not stop the return game all day. It was weird. They let the Bills across their 40-yard line 4 times in that one. Chase McLaughlin had to do more tackling than any kicker should ever have to do.
Exactly. So you got to take the load off of Chase McLaughlin, right? You can't have him doing that. You just need to play better in every facet of the game, even offensively, of course. We'll get to that. But they just kind of got ripped to pieces by that pass attack. But it wasn't even that bad. You look at the stat line, I think Josh Allen 300 yards, but it wasn't any individual guy that was just getting beat or any individual guy that was beating them. I think the highest, it was Tyrell Shavers led them in receiving with 4 for 90 or something. It was just Josh Allen was just dissecting him. There was a hole in the zone a lot. And when they played man coverage, their guys got beat at an even rate. There was no one that was getting beat. You just need to perform better than that. And it feels like we've come to expect a lot of this Tampa Bay defense, especially after a really great stretch early in the season against a couple of nice offenses. They need to be better about getting pressure, and they need to be better about tightening those zones up. And against Sean McVay and the Rams, I think they're going to have a really, really tough time doing that. Stafford is one of the toughest quarterbacks to play against no matter what, but especially if you're a team that is struggling with zone integrity, Stafford is going to piece you up. And if there's the smallest window in man coverage, he's going to find it. So how will they respond? I think this is a massive week for Tampa Bay's future outlook. If they can even keep it competitive, if they can make this a really, really close game, doesn't matter if they win it. I think if they win it, obviously it'll do a lot for them, but they need to keep this game competitive and show that they're just as good as the Rams if they want to keep, I don't know, have at least a hope for those Super Bowl aspirations that we saw early in the season.
I'm just as worried about the Bucs offense as well. It's well documented how beat up this offensive line is. This week, they're down another starter, Ben Bredesen, Paulson Adebo sitting out this one as well. I think that Chris Shula is maybe the best head coach candidate in this year's cycle. I mean, his defense with the Rams has been stellar this year. What really pops to me is the way they play the run. It's a very aggressive attack, and you'll look at how Tampa Bay wants to run the football. It's a lot of deceptive man gap sort of stuff where you're using these nimble offensive linemen and getting your explosive running backs in space. I think the Rams have been really good at detonating that this year. Another unique thing about LA's defense is they run a ton of dime, which means they have a ton of speed on the field at any given time, which means that it's going to limit the explosives that we saw Tampa Bay have multiple explosive runs against the Bills. Those long runs help eat up so much field position for you. Makes the defense sort of scared of your rushing attack, and it just opens everything up. I don't know how much that's going to be available against the Rams. And I know the coaching has been fantastic. You just got to shout out the Rams defensive line. Not even fair. Just Jared Verse doing Jared Verse things. Oh, who's their number 2? Byron Young has taken another step up. Athletic freak. He's even playing the run well this year. They're stunting him up, getting the most out of him. Kobe Turner. I know you love Kobe Turner. He's doing his thing. Just great pass rusher. Weighs like 280 pounds and has the strength of a 320-pound nose tackle so far. And Poona Ford. I know I've made this comment before, but like, yeah, I don't have that mixed up. What the fuck, Chargers? Like, what are we doing? Why?
Why not?
Why did you let this guy go for like $4 or $5 million? It was like a shockingly small contract. Dude's just out there killing it in both phases. You cannot base block this player. And then there's the explosive 3 technique. Braden Fisk, who's like the 5th piece on this defensive line. You got Josiah Stewart in there getting pressures. It's ridiculous. They run like 7 deep along the D line, and I hate that matchup for Tampa Bay. I think Baker Mayfield's going to do his damnedest. He's going to be extending plays. He's going to be breaking sacks. He's going to keep it competitive because that's what Baker Mayfield does. But he's also going to make mistakes because that's what Baker Mayfield does. The Rams have been very clean this year, and ultimately that's why I'm going to back the Rams here. I am winning 31-25.
Yeah, so am I. I'm going to pick them 31-20. I do think Tampa keeps it close, but like you said, there's just you captured the magic of that defensive line very well. This is just a bunch of guys, dogs on that defensive line. It's my favorite defensive line to watch in the league, and I'm a Broncos fan, so that says something. Just watching them, the Broncos and the Texans this year, we are spoiled with elite defense. There's nothing I love more than watching a good defensive line mess up a quarterback's day in football, and it has been a treat this year to watch those guys. And it's not even just them. I mean, shout out to Nate Landman. He's had a ridiculous year. I mean, the punching out the football all the time, fantastic tackler. He's just in the right spot at the right time all the time. He's been causing chaos as a blitzer. Speaking of causing chaos as a blitzer, look at what Shula's been doing with those safeties. Kinchin's coming down and obliterating guys at the line of scrimmage. The other Cameron Curl coming down and just annihilating running backs in the backfield. This has just been everybody eats except defensively. Everybody's getting a piece of the pass rush production. Everybody's making those explosive plays in the run game, and it is just fantastic to see. And even the corners have improved. Emmanuel Forbes, what a comeback, man. Like, is he great? No, but you can at least start to see those ball skills that we saw coming out of, oh boy, I'm blanking. Where did Emmanuel
So
Forbes?
am I. I did not watch Emmanuel Forbes.
I'm blanking. Oh no. Mississippi State? No.
Yes.
State?
Mississippi State.
All right, coming out of Mississippi State, those ball skills we saw out of him, we're starting to see those again. I mean, he made one play last week that was just insane. And yeah, I'm forgetting that, but it has just been really nice. The Rams offense has been great. They've gotten all the press. They deserve it, but the defense has been just as good, and they're a big reason why they are the way they are. They made Seattle incredibly nervous the entirety of last week. So I think that's a big reason they win this game. Tampa's going to do everything they can to keep it close. This is a really good team who plays really well. But they've just had and they're 6-4. They've played a lot of difficult teams this year. I still think Tampa's good. I still think they're going to the playoffs. I still think they're going to be a heck of a first round out for any division winner. Not an easy game and not a guaranteed game by any measure. But the way the Rams are playing, I can't pick against them.
Now, one of the reasons that the Rams haven't been able to win another Super Bowl after that initial one in, 2021?
Yep.
Is that they've dealt with injuries, feels like, every season. This year, they have mostly avoided the injury bug until last week, where they lost 3 starters to IR. They lost Tyler Higbee, they lost Quentin Lake, and they lost Rob Havenstein. For now, I'm not super worried because Warren McClendon is going to step in for Havenstein. He's looked good. I remember McClendon when I was watching Amarius Mims, because I think it was when Mims was an underclassman. Mims was so good that he forced a tackle rotation with McClendon. It's like, oh, I was new to scouting. I don't see that very often. But he's playing well as a developmental prospect who's gotten a lot better. And then, the second round tight end, Terrence Ferguson, has looked the part so far as a second round.
Oh, yeah.
He's looked better than I thought that he would. So I'm not super worried about those losses for this game against the Bucs. Just something to monitor. I hope this team stays healthy. These are 2 very easy teams to root for. I hope that both these teams are totally healthy going into the postseason.
100%. I mean, I really, this could be a potential playoff preview. Like, that could be fun, you know? Also, Tampa Bay, I just forgot that the NFC South sucks. They're still the favorite to win that division. I doubt they don't win that division. Never mind. They're going to be a tough out for any like wild card team looking to make an upset. Apologies. I forgot how bad the NFC South sucks, that even if they're 6-5, they'll still be complete favorites to win the division. Though,
you don't think the 6-5 Carolina Panthers pull them off?
Don't count Bryce Young out. We'll get to that.
All right. So, any last words on this game?
No, I think it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited. Sunday Night Football's back.
Absolutely. Those were our 2 games of the week. Now, long-term viewers of the series, or I guess people who watched the last episode, since this is only like our 3rd episode of weekly previews that we've had this year, know that we do the games of the week. And then from there, we take it back a notch. We start with the worst games, then we go to the best of the rest at the end of the podcast. We start with the worst games. Victor, do you know where this is going?
It's gotta be going to Atlanta, right? Maybe Tennessee.
Oh, buddy. Browns Raiders 2-8 versus 2-8.
What?
Who wants it less?
Yeah, I cannot believe I did not have that on the radar. Oh my goodness.
I can. It's a very forgettable game, Victor.
Unbelievable. I literally have nothing written down against that game. I think it's so forgettable. I forgot to prepare for it. I might be the worst analyst of all time. Who wants it less?
The Raiders or the BallsTalkSports NFL podcast.
Yeah, this is an approved. Yeah, you got my stamp of approval. It's a BallsTalkSports Who Wants It Less classic. The Browns and the Raiders trotting out Geno Smith and Shedeur Sanders. Oh my goodness. This is gonna
Raiders
suck.
favored by 4. Shedeur Sanders starting first career game. That's definitely the main storyline going into this one. And I think that's a big part of the reason the Raiders are favored by 4, even though both these teams are 2-8. We all saw what Shedeur Sanders' first NFL playing time looked like, and it was really ugly. Anyone who watched it knows that. I think there is reason to believe, though, that Shedeur Sanders in his first start can be at least as good as Dylan Gabriel. And I know that's a really, really low bar, but Shedeur Sanders infamously had not gotten first team reps. I do think that that's something that matters. And as bad as his debut was, everything that could go wrong did. And I know that's kind of a theme on the Browns offensive season, but he takes a ton of sacks. We know this. He's just going to take bad sacks. Some of the sacks he took that looked ugly were just nobody getting open because the Browns have a really bad receiving core. The offensive line wasn't doing him any favors. There were dropped passes. There were miscommunications. You hope at least some of those go away. I think that Kevin Stefanski can at least dial up a decent scripted drive that can get the Browns some points in this one, because that is the type of game that we are talking about. There genuinely may be more defensive and special teams points scored in this one than offensive points. Like, it's not even just a possibility. I'm not saying I think it happens half the time, but this is a great Browns defense. Yep. These are two teams that are going to turn the ball over a lot. I think there's a very realistic chance. I am going to go with the Raiders 17-14. I think that's about the maximum number of points that could plausibly be scored in this game. Give me your thoughts on this one, or don't. It's really up to you.
Well, my thoughts are that Myles Garrett might break the sack record for the season this weekend. He's 8 sacks away, and I think he's got a shot. Holy shit. I mean, they're going to put him against DJ Glaze, right?
Yes.
They're going to put him against DJ Glaze. And I don't think DJ Glaze has played like super poorly this year. Now, it hasn't been pretty in the run game, but as a pass protector, he hasn't been like the worst. I mean, he hasn't been good, but he hasn't been the worst tackle in the league, I don't think. He's not going to be able to stop Myles Garrett. I mean, it's just going to, and also like Colton Miller on the other side, he's also not going to be able to stop Myles Garrett. Like Colton Miller's really good. He's not going to be able, nobody can stop Myles Garrett.
Is he even healthy? Is he back for them?
I thought he was getting back soon. Maybe not for this game, which if he's not back for this game, then.
No, I believe he is back. I think you're right.
Yeah, right. I thought, yeah, he's coming back this game, right? So, is he? So I don't have the injury report for this game because I honestly forgot to prepare for it. So,
yeah, I think I forgot to look at it. Does it really matter?
No, but no. Okay, so he's not coming back this week, I don't think. I thought he was. I was under the impression that this was the week he was back. It does matter because Miller at least gives them a fighting chance because he is a really good pass protector. But even coming off the injury, like how good is he going to be? Whoever is backing him up, I forget the name. It's not for like a lack of noticing him because I have noticed him in a very bad way.
Is it Dylan Parham?
No, has Parham been playing left tackle?
I have no idea.
Because he got hurt. He got hurt a couple of weeks ago as well. But when he was playing guard. So I honestly, it's been such a revolving door at line for the Raiders. Everybody's played every position. Like I legitimately can't tell you who's playing where right now. It's been that difficult. Stone Forsythe. In case you forgot about him. Oh my goodness. Stone Forsythe, Dylan Parham, Jordan Meredith, he's back, good for him. Alex Kappa and DJ Glaze. I mean, geez, this is just awful. Myles Garrett is going to kill them. I mean, Myles Garrett's playing better than anybody in football is right now. Really good chance that he's gonna make it a second straight year of the Thomas Kuechly Award going to him, but I'm going to pick the Browns just simply for the fact that I think this defense is better than the Raiders defense is. I think the Browns run game is better. Their offensive line is at least a decent running offensive line, and Judkins is going to be able to ground and pound on a poor Raiders tackling defense, to say the least. I think they'll be able to do just enough, and I do think Shedeur, he'll get maybe into a little bit of a groove, right? I liked him coming into the draft as like a low ceiling, kind of high floor kind of guy, and I think he does present that week one. He's going to take a couple of sacks. It's just going to happen, but he will be able to spread the ball around, get it to your guys, hopefully on time and hopefully accurately. Like, I think he will be at least as good as Dylan Gabriel was. Again, not a high bar, but that Dylan Gabriel led offense did score 31 points against the Dolphins. So it is possible. And the Raiders put up 12 against the Cowboys. I can't with them anymore. I'm going to pick the Browns.
Getting into Judkins and just letting him do his thing. I agree that that's the script the Browns want to use. They want to limit the turnovers, just shorten the game, and hopefully squeak out there with a win. I'm siding with the Raiders because I have a little more faith in Geno Smith and just Trey Tucker or Dante Thornton, who is playing and probably should not be playing, creating one or two explosive plays that then hopefully the special teams unit can finish. I would also say the Raiders have a pretty clear advantage in the punting department in this one with AJ Cole, who's had some beautiful coffin corner balls.
Oh, I know.
Look, field position is going to matter in this one. I just a fight online with somebody about Josh Allen taking a 18-yard sack on third down and being like, well, yeah, let him make a play. keep the drive alive. It's third down. Try and move the chains. Doesn't matter if you take a big sack. My argument being that starting at the 15 versus starting at the 30 isn't that much of a difference. In games like this, that makes a difference. So
Yeah.
don't really care who wins this one. This one with the Raiders. I do think Max Crosby is going to have a good day. I think he needs a good day. And this Browns offensive line against Shedeur Sanders provides a very nice opportunity for a rebound here.
Yeah, but I mean, if Miles gets at least 3 sacks in this game, which is like, okay, if this guy gets 3 sacks, yeah, that's totally realistic. That's like the betting line, I bet, honestly, on Myles Garrett over under sacks. He's this could be the year he breaks it. This could be the year Strahan's record goes down. Like, honestly, he's 8 sacks. He's at 15 sacks right now. Record's 22.5. Browns have 7 more games to play. Needs a little over a sack a game, and he might get about half of that on Sunday. We'll see.
And with that alarm, we successfully talked for 7 minutes about Browns Raiders. BTS,
That's
folks.
a victory. That's a victory.
All right. So that was our Who Wants It Less Classic. That one is going to be just hell to watch for anyone who's masochistic enough to go for that. Also, the blowouts are included in this category, and I think that the 7-3 Seahawks taking on the 1-9 Titans, who just seem to kind of look worse every week, falls into that category. How much are the Seahawks going to win by?
I've got it 34-13. And 13's being generous. Rookie Cam Ward against Mike McDonald called defense is just, it's going to be ugly. I have the Seahawks defense in fantasy, and I am expecting a very big day. It's just going to be bad. I mean, Mike McDonald is known as the rookie quarterback killer for a reason. This guy, the way he schemes up coverages, the way he disguises coverages, and how much movement happens post-snap is just impossible for any rookie quarterback who just has not seen that many snaps. It's impossible for them to deal with, to recognize what's happening. So they're just going to throw to a spot on the field where there is a defensive player there a lot. It just happens, and we saw Stafford last week. He played very well. He played reasonably well against that, but even he had his mistakes, and he's a seasoned veteran. This is just a very difficult defense to discover, to decipher what they're trying to do. And Cam Ward's going to have a tough day because his receivers certainly aren't going to give him any help. His offensive line isn't going to give him any help. His coaching staff isn't. I don't think the defense for Tennessee is going to be especially impactful in stopping Sam Darnold and company. Maybe look for Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat to get some interior pressure, make Sam Darnold's day a little bit tougher. But nobody on that team can cover Jackson Smith and Jigba. Nobody on that team can get pressure off the edge. It's just going to be a bad day all around for Tennessee.
So I was interested. I went and watched the tape. I arrived at the conclusion that Cam Ward is still probably the best all-around player on this offense. I mean, maybe even over guys like Peter Skoronski.
Yeah.
I think he's close with Skoronski because Skoronski's grading out pretty well for PFF. He's been a little iffier in the games that I've watched.
Good, but yeah.
Well, and that's just the thing. Cam Ward hasn't been good. He's really just been okay, and I think it's commendable the way that he's playing and trying to buy this team some wins, because that is how bad the Tennessee Titans are. The run game is dead on arrival. I mean, yeah, the offensive line isn't good enough, but Tony Pollard's been, unfortunately, one of the least efficient backs in the NFL this year. Yeah. Got to wonder if he's banged up or just old. Tyjae Spears actively looks bad to me. I mean, the vision is bad. He's not breaking tackles. I think you can get him the ball in space and he can be okay, but hopefully he can turn that around. Ridley's done for the year, which Ridley struggled, but, he at least gave you some separation ability, some explosive playability. Chimere Dike has not sustained the breakout he had for 1 or 2 games in the middle of the season. He's at 1.07 yards per route run, and that's close to being tops for the Titans receivers. That's brutal. Cam Ward's going to try. He's going to make mistakes. We were talking about good D-lines earlier. You got to mention Seattle in that conversation. I love contrasting skill sets, and this is at every position. This is at wide receiver. This is in your backfield, and this is on your defensive line. It was Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. On the same play, Leonard Williams was taking on a double team, and the dude's just standing freaking straight up. one hand in this guy's chest, one hand in this guy's chest, and he's holding it off. And then on the other side, because this is a duo run, Byron Murphy has dropped all the way to the ground in a corkscrew technique with his knee down, and he's standing up two guys at the line. Just what a beautiful example of there being different, unique ways to win based on player skills and player build. But it's not just the interior. I mean, just got a motley crew of dudes making plays on the edge. Chen and Wosu's getting in there. Boye Mafe's getting in there. DeMarcus Lawrence has been just a great, pleasant surprise. Just dominant in the run game, and he's been really nice as a pass rusher as well. It's going to be hell for Tennessee's offensive line. I do think that they can maybe get a stop or two, mostly because Jeffrey Simmons might be the best defensive tackle in the NFL this season, but I still pick Seattle 36-6.
Jeez. Yeah, it's just going to be nothing available for Tennessee. Like you said, that defensive line's incredible. He didn't even mention Boye Mafe or Derek Hall. You know, both of them having great seasons. I love that you called out Byron Murphy, though, not just for the pass rushing, but he has improved so much as a run defender since he's gotten to the league. He's really learned how to use his leverage to get, like you said, to get low. It's fun to watch him play in both phases now, and I'm really happy to see him succeeding. Seattle's just nasty, and that loss last week was about as bad as the offense could play, and they still barely lost on a field goal to one of the best teams in the league. That should tell you how good Seattle is, and they are for sure for real.
I'm a little nervous about my Sam Darnold as a bona fide franchise quarterback take because he did make mistakes, but I would still any day of the week take him over a guy like Daniel Jones because even in that game, he was making plays. He was making big throws. He didn't look rattled. He would make an aggressive read, safety undercuts it, and the body language doesn't just drop. You can tell that there's frustration there, but he's ready to get back out and try and lead his team down the field. I still like Sam Darnold moving forward. One more shout out before we get out here. If the Titans are looking for sort of an unexpected bright spot, Cedric Gray, the young linebacker, really has popped to me this year against the run. I know it's a small thing, but good job, Cedric Gray. Way to get after it. Maybe a piece moving forward.
Yeah, I wanted to mention him when we did our breakout players, but he's a second-year player, so he's had a really nice year. It's good to see him succeeding at a very difficult position to succeed in, especially when the rest of your team sucks.
We made it through that one in almost 6 minutes.
Nice.
Getting more efficient.
Better. Yeah. We've had to
so
start
next up,
because we love talking about football too much.
Next up, we have another strong blowout contender. It is the 2-9, still Jameis Winston Giants against the 6-4 Detroit Lions. Detroit favored by 12.5. Any hope for the Giants in this one, Victor?
So I'm actually going to ring a little bit of a bell here. We're on upset alert in New York. I really think we are. I'm not going to pick the upset. I just think that there is a serious path to victory for New York. It has no secret it's been bad, but like they're favored by 12.5. Detroit is. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. I'm not a betting man. I don't like the sports bet. Just don't. I mean, listen, you do whatever you want. Generally, just look into at least how sports betting, how it makes its money. It's not a clean business. But I would smash the fucking Giants line. I'm going to call it out there. I don't think this Giants team is a bad team, even with all of the injuries. Like Scatterbo, Dart, Neighbors gone. I don't care. There's something there. There's something in the offense and the defense that wants to fight. And my biggest thing here is you need to have the Abdul Carter breakout game in this one. I think that's the matchup to watch. That's the X factor because Brian Burns versus Penei Sewell on one side of the line is going to be a war all afternoon. Two of the best at the position going at it. It's going to be incredible. If Carter can get consistent pressure off of the other side from Taylor Decker, we know Dexter Lawrence is going to get his on an interior offensive line, which has not been very good for Detroit. So we know pressure's coming from the interior. We know Burns is going to get his. If Carter can consistently win against Decker, Goff is going to be under fire all night. And when Goff is under fire, he makes mistakes. There is an avenue here for the Giants to get Goff under pressure. This is how, Caleb Williams was constantly getting decked in the backfield, but because he's Caleb Williams, he had one of the best games I've ever seen from a quarterback in terms of evading pressure. Jared Goff is not going to be able to do that. So you get like a performance similar to that. I think the Giants could win this one because Jameis Winston, for all of his faults, he always gives you a chance in an offensive game. He gives you a chance to put up points. And against the Lions defense, without Kirby Joseph, without Terry and Arnold this week, they're going to be relying on some guys that they don't normally rely on. Thomas Harper, I believe, is the backup safety. He's played very well this season. I've noticed him, and the grades back it up. I think he's a very good PFF grade as well. He's played very well. He's still kind of, he's still a young guy. Whoever is backing up Terry and Arnold is going to have to come in and play some snaps. Detroit's still injured, and their best player, Aiden Hutchinson on defense, he's going to be lined up opposite one of the best pass protecting left tackles in football, Andrew Thomas. So maybe their only consistent avenue of pressure, maybe they don't get as much output from him on the day. I think there's a serious path to victory here for the Giants. I'm lame. I'm a coward. I don't have the balls to pick it. I'm going to pick the Lions 27-24. I think this is closer than a lot of people think. I'm going to put the Lions on upset watch.
I don't know if we have ever disagreed more on a game than we do in this one. And it shocks me that it's a game that Detroit is favored by 12.5. That's like our huge disagreement.
Yeah.
I will concede. You got Jameis Winston. You got a shot. We kind of saw it last week against my Green Bay Packers. However, I would put an asterisk on that. He threw 4 interceptable balls at least, maybe 5.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that he's going to be good. I'm just saying there's a chance that he isn't awful. Like, I will admit, there's a really good chance this game ends 38-6. But there's also a chance it ends 27-24. And I'm just going to throw it at the wall.
Some people will, and again, I'm trying to help your case here. Some people will
appreciate that.
Talk about the Buccaneers game where this Lions secondary seemingly played up and Baker Mayfield had a really rough night. That was with a whole bunch of injuries on the back end. I think they were down both their starting safeties. They were down Terry and Arnold for sure. They had other guys leave throughout the game. They were really at the scraps of their secondary. However, if you watch that game, it was really the pass rush and just Baker Mayfield being rattled and missing throws. This is a very, very beatable secondary right now. My chief concern, Victor, who's going to beat them? Who are the Giants pass catchers right now? Wan'Dale Robinson on 3-yard bubble screens 10 times a game?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. But, I mean, they scored how many points against the Packers? You're telling me they can't do that against the Lions? I think
20, and they got to the red zone at the end of the game.
I know. I think it'll be a similar game script. It's like, yeah, the offense played terrible, but you still found out how to get 20 points. They tried not to score, and they scored 20 points. So I think it'll be a similar game script to the Green Bay game.
Here is why I have so much faith in the Lions, whom you mentioned 38-6. I picked them 38-16. So putting a little more respect on that Giants offense. I think Detroit is just going to be able to run the ball down the Giants' throat. The Giants are sitting at plus 0.16 EPA per rush conceded. That is worse than the league by a surprisingly wide margin. It's kind of eye-opening how inefficient running the ball is, and you get into sort of game theory stuff there with how much does the run actually set up the pass. But yeah, plus 1.6 is a really rough seasonal mark to be on. When we have another one of these episodes, I am going to get in there on the All-22, and I want to figure out why it seems that this Giants defensive line is underperformed. But all I can say for now is they have underperformed, and they have really, really struggled to plug the interior run. I think that's where the Lions are comfortable. They've looked very beatable in recent weeks. A big part of that is that they haven't been able to convert on 4th down, which is their thing. I see that as a noise. I think there's going to be regression to the mean, and I don't think that the Giants are the team that's going to sustain that. I think they're going to have a hard time playing 4 downs repeatedly against Detroit. Also, one last thing. I love the Thomas Harper shout out. I did go in and watch him because he's graded out really well, and yeah, I like what I saw. I think he's been really good in coverage, so reason to maybe have a little bit of faith in this Lions secondary. Very different opinions in this one.
Yeah. I also have the question of like who's going to cover Amon-Ra St. Brown, little questions like that, but I'm not going to let that interfere with my agenda. All right, we are right. This is the one time of year that I will speak positively on the New York Giants. All right, because this is just a very favorable. There are a lot of favorable matchups for you in this one. If there's any good team I like New York against, it's probably Detroit.
Fair enough, and I respect
you
calling your shot, even if you're not calling your shot. I think that that's the smart way to play it.
I want to at least say, hey, I told you so whenever Jameis Winston throws a game-losing interception. I just like, hey, most people said he wouldn't have the chance to throw that pick. I think he will throw that pick. I got you, Jameis.
Dude, that is my favorite thing to do. I got to do that today with people talking to me about the Bills Texans game. Like, all I was hearing is the Bills are going to blow them out of the water. And I was like, I don't know. That's a really nice Texans defense. Josh Allen has been really streaky this year, passing up open receivers. No way in hell I'm picking the Texans, but if they win, I will tell you so.
Yeah, it's really funny. D'Amico Ryan says as Joe Brady's number, like Sean Payton is Todd Bowles' number. It's just defensively and offensively. Like the Texans just eat the Bills alive whenever they play them.
That defensive line, hell, just
Oh,
even that defense. Wow.
unbelievable. One of the best defensive games I think I've ever seen played. At least
We
from a
don't talk
pass
about
rush
the offense.
stance. Yeah, no, that was listen, but it was a good day for the Marxist agenda. Woody Marx fan club. It's called the Marxist agenda, Marxism. Um, it's where we all get together and love Woody Marx. You should look it up online. We have a great fan club.
I feel like you could also do something with Davis Mills as well. Like, I know Mills is a philosopher. I was supposed to read him for one class, but it was a funky class. It was at the end of it. I forgot what Mills' core theses were. He's playing well.
Yeah.
Davis Mills feels like he's playing better every game. I'm not saying that he's giving you more than CJ Stroud does right now, because that wouldn't be true. However, the Texans are going to live in a very high variance world on offense because the offensive line is terrible and you're going to be running for your life all the time. I don't know that Davis Mills runs for his life and throws Nico Collins catchable balls markedly worse than CJ Stroud does.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that.
I also do think, to Stroud's credit, like the Texans were starting to get a little bit of a vibe going before he got hurt. Like there was the slightest bit of the game before the Broncos game when he got hurt. They put together a really solid offensive performance. Then they went down. They scored they scored a touchdown in the first possession against the Broncos, and then he got hurt. So Stroud comes back. I think we could see that rhythm come back a little bit.
I boldly declared about 4 weeks ago that, if you look at the playoff standings, the Texans are pretty much dead. I don't know.
So
Might have to reevaluate.
They're 6-5 now. So
next in line, and hopefully the last blowout game we'll talk about, although I don't know. We'll see if we arrive at the conclusion that this one's a blowout. The 2-8 Jets headed to Baltimore to take on the 5-5 Ravens, who are favored by 13.5. Ravens are storming back. They won 4 straight. How much are you buying in?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I feel like the defense has really impressed me. Well, it's been better in recent weeks, at least. You're getting a lot more big plays out of your stars. It feels like there's a little bit of regression in the mean when it comes to turnover luck and stuff like that. Win over Chicago was absolutely massive, but offensively last week was just bad. And it's all right. You have bad weeks on occasion. It just hasn't looked the same since Lamar came back fully. Like we just have not seen that return to last year's form, at least. And I really want to see that this week because the Jets don't have a good defense by any stretch of the imagination. I just want to see this be a rebound week for Baltimore. I do think it will be. But also for that offensive line, you cannot let somebody get 5 sacks against you. I don't care if it's Myles Garrett. You cannot let them do that. So a big thing I'm looking at for this matchup is Will McDonald against that against the Ravens tackles, Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten, because he's had a couple of massive games. He's been pretty solid throughout the entire year, but he's had a couple of just game wrecker type of performances. And if he can put together one of those against this Ravens team with Lamar under pressure and not really having a reliable receiver downfield right now, that is a way that the Jets can stick in this game. Make it a tough game. That's what the Browns did. They just made it impossible for Lamar to get a consistent rhythm going because Myles Garrett was dominating the entire game. If McDonald can put together a performance like that, I think they stand a chance.
I think I accidentally stole your notes because I really want to touch on very similar points. I think the reason the Ravens offense just hasn't felt right is because Lamar has been under almost constant pressure, more pressure than he's really faced at any point throughout his career. Last year, when that offense was as dynamic and consistently good as they come, he was pressured at about a 33% clip with a 3.2 time to throw. Lamar Jackson always going to be way, way up there at time to throw. This year, he looks a little rushed. You see that in the footwork. You see it in the mechanics where it feels like he's not always moving his feet and he's trying to play out over his skates, really layer the ball over offensive linemen because Roger Rosengarten is getting bashed deep into the pocket or Daniel Falele is getting beat immediately. So he has to contort his body to get the throw off. This year he's being pressured about 40% of the time with almost a flat 3-second time to throw. That is a big time to throw change. He's clearly feeling sped up, and you haven't felt the same dynamism. It also feels like he's not trusting his legs in some strange way. That's something that, okay, my roommate is a Ravens fan, and he's repeatedly told me, like, it doesn't feel like Lamar takes that sack as we're watching games. And sure enough, he has a career worst almost 26% pressure to sack ratio. That's really rough. And I don't think it's that guys aren't getting open. I think Zay Flowers is open. I think that DeAndre Hopkins has been a really nice role player for this team, beating man coverage and just, he can't separate, but he's doing the DeAndre Hopkins stuff. I think it's the offensive line, and I think this needs to be a get-right game for the Ravens after 4 straight wins, which is not something that we say very often. At the end of the day, I think it is, though. I've got Baltimore 31-14 because Justin Fields is benched. They're playing Tyrod Taylor. I think the Jets can score some points. I don't think that it's going to be enough to beat Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
No, I'm picking the Ravens 26-12 as well. It's probably just going to be a nice game for them to get right. I am curious a little bit. This is just coming to me right now, but if we remember from early on in the season, before Lamar got hurt, he had that game against, who was it? Was it Tampa Bay?
Buffalo?
Or no, it was Detroit. It was Detroit. There was the Baltimore-Detroit game where I had never seen a defense contain Lamar as well as they did. And I was like, you know what? This is something I want to watch because I want to go back and watch this game. I never watched that game. I never went back and rewatched that game for whatever reason. I think there was just other games that week that I wanted to rewatch. I am really curious. And then after that, Lamar got hurt. So we didn't really get to see him against another great defense. But I remember the next week they played Kansas City. And again, he was getting hit way more than he usually was. So I'm curious if the Lions kind of unlock something and the rest of the league has been following suit in recent weeks. So maybe over Thanksgiving break, I'll go back and I'll do a study on how Lamar's been dealing, how teams have been trying to beat Lamar and keep him inside of the pocket. Because it's not like Lamar can't beat you from within the pocket, but he's still an elite pocket passer. But where he becomes like a truly elite quarterback game wrecker is when he's able to get out of the pocket. Like that is what gives him that takes him from like the 5th or the 6th best quarterback in the league to number 1, period. So if the NFL's figured out how to contain him, because you're never going to be able to fully contain Lamar, but if you're able to keep him from just doing whatever he wants, getting out of the pocket whenever he wants, then you can rush him and maybe make him a little bit more of a high variance quarterback than in years past when he's been just this ultra solid player because he can beat you through the pocket, but when he's under collapse, when the pockets collapse, he can get out and easily win. So I'm really curious to see if this is something that's happening or it's just variance. It just happens. Sometimes you take bad sacks. The line's been bad. So I really want to, I'm not saying anything is because I haven't watched the tape yet, but I really want to go in and see if that's what's happening there, at least.
I haven't noticed it since, but in that Lions game, I remember noticing that it was a lot of contain rush, as you would expect, but it was also a lot of overload. And then because the offensive line isn't very good and isn't going to pick it up consistently, then you send a delayed blitzer from the other side, or you have a safety robbing down into the box and he's a QB spy. And so Lamar Jackson is obviously a very, very challenging player to contain. It's getting guys with momentum and speed straight shots at him and daring Lamar to make them miss and then scramble up the middle, where if Lamar beats you for a 10-yard chunk up the middle, whatever. He's not beating you for a 40-yard chunk up the sideline. So I do actually really excitedly await your report on that because this Ravens offense doesn't feel right. And I would also like to know why.
But should be a nice win.
Hopefully. All right. Next in line, right on cue.
Nice. Making time. I mean, it's like an hour 15 of the show, but still.
We talked for like 20 minutes at the beginning. That was totally on me. I take 100% of the blame for that.
No, he didn't.
Okay, it didn't feel like 20 minutes, but I noticed, and when we were getting into the first game, it did say 20 up there. Oh,
Really?
it doesn't start at 0 when you record, does it?
Does
Or
I
yeah,
thought
it
it
does,
did.
doesn't it?
I
Huh.
don't know.
We might have
We'll
talked for
have to
20
see.
minutes,
We'll have to see. I don't know. It was a great Thanksgiving conversation. Maybe I got very hyped up about wings.
which is totally understandable. Cooking for your Thanksgiving is sick, by the way. Just want to make that clear.
No, I'm not doing all the cooking, of course. I'm doing the one thing. I'm doing the wings and I'm bringing the drinks. They're, of course, the absolute stars. Bringing the mac and cheese, bringing the stuff, and we got to give shout outs to them as well.
Oh, yeah. Next up, we've got a game I think we're both oddly intrigued to talk about, and that is the 3-7 Falcons taking on the 2-8 Saints. New Orleans is going to be favored in this one. And as I was doing my pregame research, it dawned on me that the Falcons are just seemingly one of the worst run organizations in the NFL. Maybe
Yep.
that's just like common knowledge, but looking back through their front office decisions, we'll go year by year. This is Terry Fontenot's tenure. 2021, you draft Kyle Pitts at 4.
Well, that
Totally
worked.
get it.
No, I
Generational
I, I get
backs
it.
in his play style. Well, yeah, it makes some sense. And he was great as a rookie. They really used him as a receiving mismatch. And then they just kind of didn't. And it didn't help that he didn't get any better. Like, I am a known, documented Kyle Pitts hater because when he has mistakes, the mistakes are ugly. You
Yeah.
want him to execute his role well, and he hasn't always done that. But I don't think that just moving away from the guy you spent the 4th overall pick on has really helped them. And what also didn't help them is that in 2022, you drafted another big slot type of player in Drake London. That's a hit. That's a great pick. I am not here to diss on Drake London, but it is on the GM to sort that complementary play style situation out. You don't want redundancy. That's how you wind up wasting surplus value when you're drafting. In the second, they take Arnold Ebiketie, and then Troy Anderson, and then Desmond Ritter. Not ideal. And, I hate the Desmond Ritter pick out of principle as well because
Yeah.
it feels like you just wasted time on that. Like, where was the vision? 23, draft Bijan Robinson at 8. Bijan Robinson might be the best running back in the NFL. He has not really
Could be.
contributed to this team being competitive. I mean, that's probably the wrong way to frame it, but there's a
No, I
reason
know
they
what you
talk
mean.
about drafting running backs early being a luxury pick. Yeah. 24, you go out and pay Kirk Cousins a whole bunch of money coming off the Achilles. And then you draft a constantly injured 24-year-old who had played for multiple different schools. And then in the second, you reach on Ruka, who has played this year and not been ideal. Not giving up on him by any means, but I think a lot of people didn't see the vision there. And now that Penix is injured, which isn't particularly surprising, I think it's even harder to see the vision there. And this last year, you mortgage your future, like, what was it, 3 second-round picks or some on James Pierce Jr.?
No, it was a first round pick. They don't have their first round pick in this draft. They are 3-7. And they don't have their first round pick in this draft.
There we go. And for what it's worth, I was not a big James Pierce Jr. guy. I think he's done what they drafted him to do, which is pretty much just be a disruptive edge rusher. He doesn't play the run. He doesn't really get you sacks, but he gets you some disruption. This is what they signed up for, and it's not really helping their defense. Then you cut Ray McLeod midseason, who was playing in the slot for them. Look, I'm obviously not in that locker room. Maybe he was being a disturbance in some way, and that was the right decision. But now you've got Kaderil Hodge, who's mostly a special teamer, and David Sills the fifth playing in the slot and catching 2 passes a game for 10 yards with 2 drops mixed in there. It just feels like this team isn't going in any cohesive direction. And the Saints feel like, I don't know, man, they actually do have a little bit of momentum. Tyler Shuck is playing well. And that's, I think, why the Saints are favored in this one. I don't even remember who did I pick? I picked the Saints 19-18. I think this could be a good defensive battle because I think the Falcons are going to heat Shuck up. They like to blitz. He hasn't been great against the blitz this year, but it's going to be a close game. You just want to see the Falcons get something back on track, even though Penix is out for the season. You're relying on Kirk Cousins. I don't know. It feels like a wasted year for Atlanta.
Yeah, definitely. And it hurts even more because, like you said, you don't have your first round pick. That was just one of the most baffling general manager moves I think I've ever seen because you went out there and you drafted a probably designated pass rusher, at least in year one, Jalen Walker with pick 15, and then you draft another one, but you spend for another first round pick to do it. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And Pierce, like you said, he's done a decent job, and so has Walker. He's had a good couple of weeks. He's made a couple of really big plays. I'm excited to see what he's doing, but it's just does not make sense from a managerial standpoint to make that move. And it's not working because your idea was, okay, we'll be good this year because we got Penix going into year 2. We got a good roster. It's going to look good. And then just, you're not good. But so now you don't have a top 10 pick in the draft when you should. So that's going to set them back quite a bit. Michael Penix is going to get hurt again. He gets hurt. He's out for the rest of the year. It sucks. But I mean, you drafted a 24-year-old injury-prone quarterback at number 8, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
This is just what this is a risk of doing that. It's another questionable managerial decision, especially after you especially after you paid $200 million to an injury-prone veteran quarterback. And I really hope Penix is able to get healthy because he's really fun to watch when he is healthy. But it just sucks that he gets hurt, and it sucks that the Falcons put him in that position where they make it seem like the franchise is all on him now because they haven't really surrounded him with talent as well as they could have. Like you said, they're not doing what's best for the team, and it's just really frustrating to watch. I like the Falcons. I always have. I was a massive Julio Jones is maybe my favorite player of all time next to Peyton Manning. I love him. I've watched him growing up so much. He's my favorite receiver, one of my favorite players. Him, Demaryius Thomas, Peyton Manning. I love them. And it just hurts to see them be this bad when they haven't been that bad actually as a team. Like, they're not that bad, but now Kirk is going to come in, and he was not good last week. I don't think he'll be good this week. He's immobile, doesn't deal with pressure well at this point in his career, and his arm is deteriorated, so the accuracy is not what it once was, and just doesn't have the power to attack down the field. So those back shoulder throws with Drake London, they're going to be a lot harder to hit. Kyle Pitts, throwing to him while accurate is tough enough. He's going to drop the football. When it's inaccurate, he's going to give the ball to the other team. Bijan Robinson, he will do his best, but as you said, running back just doesn't matter enough when you are a bad team to will a team to victory. So I'm going to pick the Saints too. I could be wrong on this. I think it'll be low scoring because Atlanta's defense is still fantastic. They've gotten a little bit worse as the offense has gotten worse. The culture and so buy-in is a little bit deteriorated, but there's something there for Atlanta. I think they'll do enough defensively, but they just won't do enough offensively. And Chuck has played interesting. It feels like there's life in New Orleans, and I think that's why I'm picking them. You're always just drawn to the team with life because generally that's the team that wins. So give me New Orleans. Close game, like 16-14, something like that.
I do think Kirk Cousins gives you a chance. I went back and watched the tape against Miami. It obviously was not all good. I don't think it was markedly worse, though, than Michael Penix's tape. I kind of disagree on Kirk Cousins managing the rush. He is completely immobile. This is well known. I think he's the only quarterback in the NFL with just genuinely negative mobility. It's like you run him on a bootleg and he might trip over his feet and fall over. And I wish I was kidding about that, but I'm not. Or the pocket starts to get constricted a little bit. And he's just, such a big, old, immobile guy that the edge rusher is able to reach over the tackle and grab him. And that's enough to put him on the ground. Or he had a screen pass in that game where it was a clean snap and it was at his knees and he just almost drops it and the screen pass gets blown up because the ball's not out on time. He's staring down the read after that, not looking anybody off, and that kind of kills the play. So you hate that aspect of his game. However, in terms of rush and pressure management, I still do think he does a pretty good job of IDing where guys are coming from and getting the ball out while getting hit. Now, you also mentioned his arm is deteriorated. Not the same arm strength he used to have, but I think his overall processing and ability to attack in between zones, I still think that that's pretty solid. Look, it's a low bar. Kyle Pitts is going to get about 15 targets running flat routes and stop routes in this one because that's just how Kirk Cousins plays. But I do think Kirk Cousins gives you a legitimate chance. One thing that struck me is the Zach Robinson offense just completely changed for Kirk Cousins. It went from this really gimmicky, come out in super heavy personnel, 2-by-2 formations, give the ball to Bijan Robinson out of the pistol attack with Michael Penix to really using motion in a more dynamic way where it felt like when that receiver slices across the formation, he was actually a threat to do something, a threat to attack down the field. It felt like you were getting real-time man zone cues that integrated nicely with the play. It felt like the run game design was creative. I don't know if that speaks to Michael Penix not processing well, but there's a chance we see a Atlanta offense that isn't just absolutely atrocious, is what I'm trying to get across here. I'm not excited. I picked them to lose, but hey, if you like close games. Oh, by the way, Drake London's out, so that doesn't help.
No, that's a really good point though. Cousins is still a good mental processor of the game, and against a New Orleans defense that is lacking in talent, that could really mean something. And I am curious, that is a really great that is a really great film point to see, and I think it'll be definitely interesting to see if Atlanta can kind of generate that fear of not of just like a consistent drop back game, because it feels like they haven't had that. It feels like it's been, like you said, a lot of gimmicky stuff to Bijan Robinson. Let's get him in space with outside runs. Let's get swing passes out to him. Let's put him in as a slot receiver and get him in coming towards the formation or on a bubble screen. Get the ball to him and let him work. Or go run a play action or straight drop back and just let Penix throw up a deep ball. Let him go on a back shoulder fade to Drake London. So if we can get stuff over the middle, like actual concepts, if we can work that into the offense with Kirk Cousins, who can actually read that out. I'm not saying Penix can't, but maybe he can't. Maybe that's why Robinson hasn't been running that. Like you said, we know Cousins can do that. Maybe they'll be able to keep stuff short and then let their rack threats go off. I mean, Kyle Pitts, he's athletic at least. Maybe he breaks a couple of tackles. Bijan Robinson, maybe we actually get him in route concepts rather than just swing passes. Let him run a Texas or a circle. Get him doing stuff like that, and maybe the offense looks functional. I'm still not sold, but I'm still going to pick New Orleans. But I do think it'll be somewhat interesting because both of these teams have the capacity to make for a fun game.
I'm excited for Tyler Shough. I want to see how Shough plays against really a pretty good, pretty aggressive Atlanta defense. I think that has big future implications for New Orleans.
Yeah, we did not pick a quarterback for them in our midseason mock. Prove us right, Tyler.
You just can't if you're the Saints. If
No.
you pick a quarterback in this upcoming class after you took Shough in the second, you just can't. But hey, I think he's justified.
Yeah, and plus how good 2027 looks, and you just don't have the roster for a rookie quarterback right now. Wait till 27. That's the advice I think I'll give most teams in this draft.
I concur with that. I might hate this draft class more than I hated the 2021 Malik Willis Kenny Pickett class. There's a very reasonable chance. All right. The 9-2 New England Patriots. 9-2. Let's go. What a fun team to root for. Versus the lovable underdogs, the 3-7 Bengals, with quite possibly Joe Burrow returning. Surely that'll fix the defense, right? They square off in Cincinnati. Patriots are 5.5-point favorites. Victor, the Pats have rolled off 8 straight wins.
Unbelievable.
That's insane.
That's insane. That's ridiculous. I like you said, I never thought I'd be rooting for the Pats, but this team is fun to watch and they're fun to root for.
I think a huge part of that is Drake May. You just cannot hate Drake May. You watch a press conference with that guy, so humble. He's got the charisma. Yeah, there's nothing unlikable about Drake May. And certainly nothing unlikable about the way he plays football, where he went on that 2-3 game stretch where he was a world-beating type of quarterback. Hasn't really missed a beat since then. I mean, he hasn't been the best quarterback in football over like the last couple weeks. He's still been at least in tier 2. This is just who Drake May is now. And I have faith that he's going to take advantage of a Bengals defense that just cannot figure anything out. They're going to be without Trey Hendrickson again. They're going to be without Cam Taylor-Britt, which matters for the Bengals defense, which is saying a lot about the state of the Bengals defense. The Patriots have actually been pretty consistent this year. It feels like they should be a high variance team, I think in large part due to their really impressive offensive play design. They're really not. One factor to monitor is Ramondre Stevenson coming back. As long as he doesn't put the ball on the ground twice, I think they're going to be okay. I have the Patriots 35-21.
Yeah, and even if Ramondre Stevenson doesn't come back, you have Henderson. He's played very well. Even if the between the tackle stuff isn't to the level that you want to see, he gives you that explosive play threat, and he's improved over the course of the season. Drake May is just going to piece apart this Bengals defense. There's no two ways about it. I mean, Cincinnati has just struggled in every facet of the game defensively when it comes to they can't really run man coverage. Al Golden loves to run man coverage. He did it all the time at Notre Dame. He loves to run man coverage. They try. It doesn't work. They don't have the horses. None of these corners can guard talented NFL receivers. And when it comes to playing zone coverage, these guys just can't communicate. They're letting so many lapses in zones go. Guys are just not picking up crossers. It's just like they're just leaving them there. Simple levels concepts are just fooling this team. I mean, it doesn't really make any sense why they can't fix this, because it's basic stuff. And they're not that bad, but sometimes it feels like they are. They just have those, like, on a down to down basis, they aren't awful. They're still the worst defense in the league, but they're not as bad. They're not like generationally terrible. It's just every 10, 15, 20 plays, they have one of the worst coverage busts you'll ever see. And you're like, why did that happen? And you watch the tape, and that doesn't really give you any reason for why it happened. Somebody just forgot their assignment. Somebody just tripped. Somebody got beat so bad that they got their ankles broken. Nothing can go right for this defense. And Drake May has been automatic against pressure. He's been automatic when it comes to finding the open guy and putting it in the hole. Hold on. All right. He has been automatic when it comes to layering balls, when it comes to finding the open zone and making the throw. It's just going to be a feast for the Patriots offense, and the Patriots defense has played really well. Jamar Chase is suspended, so he's not going to play in this game. Listen, man, season's lost. I get it. Go for it, Jamar. I am behind you.
Don't go for it, Jamar. I have you in fantasy. I'm 4-7, and I need you.
Okay, maybe don't go for it, Jamar. But now, since Jamar Chase is out, T. Higgins, your only good receiver. Yoshivas has been, solid, right, as a number 3 option, I guess. But T. Higgins, your only really meaningful receiver, is going to be covered by Christian Gonzalez most of the day. And Gonzalez is a heck of a corner, so he's not going to be reliable. Higgins has always struggled when he's playing those extremely physical, talented, athletic corners. Those are his strengths, and Higgins get matched. There's just not really path to victory for Cincy. If Burrow comes back, maybe he can put together a classic Burrow game and keep him in this and win a shootout. But without Jamar Chase, that's also going to be difficult. The run game's been getting a little bit better for Cincy. New England's been good against the run. I don't think that'll be a way that they can dominate or a way to win that game. So should just be an easy New England win. I don't think I expected New England to be this much of a force at this point in the season. I don't think anybody did, even though we were high on New England. But man, they're fun to watch, and this should be an easy game, honestly, no matter if Burrow is playing or not.
Gonzalez is one of the few true shadow cornerbacks in the NFL, and it is huge that Jamar Chase is out in this one. I mean, obviously, it's huge anytime you're down Jamar Chase, but Gonzalez is allowing 44% completion on the season. He is just going to be running with T. Higgins all day, and that is a huge loss for the Bengals offense because, like you mentioned, come on, I don't think you can rely on the run game. I don't have that much trust in Zach Taylor in this offensive line. And then lastly, love Joe Burrow. Are we really going to trust him in his first game back against a defense that's been really solid? And he also doesn't have Jamar Chase. It's a tough ask. And that's why we both went with the Patriots. Now we're on to the 6-4 Jaguars taking on the 3-7 Arizona Cardinals. The Jaguars are favored, but I'm a little skeptical because it feels like any given week, so much can go wrong for this Jacksonville offense. They had a great game last week against the Chargers, won that one like 35-6. There were some favorable field positions. There were some explosive plays where, explosive plays are really, really nice for your offense. If you're not generating explosives, you can only be so good because you're eventually just going to get behind the chains and stall out. We see that with every team that doesn't generate explosives at a very high clip. However, on a game-to-game basis, I'm always skeptical to say 3 of your touchdowns come from 50-plus yards because that's not just sustainable. That's something that's extremely high variance. That's why I was concerned about the Bills last week because you watch them against the Bucs. It was so many house calls. It was special teams points. And that's why I'm still skeptical about the Jaguars offense. What the Cardinals like to do defensively is run a ton of match quarters. That's really a new introduction this season. They still run a ton of cover 3. Trevor Lawrence has really struggled against those coverages. I'm not certain whether it's processing or whether it's you spray a throw, which T-Law does a lot, and now it's in the hands of a safety because there are just more dudes back there on the back end ready to pick that off. And they're also probably going to get Brian Thomas Jr. back this week. And I know I take a dig at oh, he's out? Okay. All right. That makes me slightly more confident in the Jags because that means Jacoby Myers is going to be getting more high leverage targets. and I would rather those go to Jacoby Myers right now. I am not a BTJ hater. I am not spiteful that I have at least one point throughout the season had him in both my fantasy leagues. I'm not upset about that at all. I really want to see him return to form, but when he's been out there for the Jags, he has not helped them. I did pick Jacksonville 21-20 because decent pass rush. I think they're going to be able to get home against Jacoby Brissett, but this one's going to be tough. By no means being handed out to Jacksonville here.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I literally have written down in my notes, can Jacksonville move the ball? And it's not because Arizona's an especially tough defense to play. It's because they just haven't shown that ability to do it consistently. 35-6 against the Chargers. It looks good, but as you said, looks can be deceiving, and I don't really think this offense is something you can trust right now. The run game, they ran for like 200 yards last week, but really low yards per carry, and a lot of those a lot of those yards came from big plays that just won't happen against every team. Chargers did not play well in run defense last week. Now, I don't know if Arizona will either, but they do have Calais Campbell. He's a good run defender, and the rest of that team is solid. Budda Baker is always a threat in the run game. He's not going to let things get past 10 to 15 yards if he's coming down. He's a great tackler. So, I mean, a lot of missed tackles from the Chargers last weekend. A lot of them. It's just not going to happen as much against it. Now, Arizona is also a bad tackling team, but in the ways that Jacksonville likes to run the ball, it's going to be tougher to force a missed tackle on Arizona. Where I don't have any concerns, though, is the Jacksonville defense, and that's why I'm still pretty comfortable picking them to win this. We talked about how Trevor Lawrence struggles with match quarters. Well, the Jags also run a lot of match quarters. They run a lot of quarter half. And Jacoby Brissett, he's an experienced quarterback. He's seen a lot of football, but still, he doesn't have a strong arm. He's not very accurate. So when he's playing a lot of those coverages where things can snap like that and change in a second, you're just going to have bad plays where you misread a throw. And there's a lot smaller of a margin for error when you don't have as much arm strength, which is why we talk about arm strength and arm talent a lot for rookie quarterbacks, how important that is. Because when you're throwing into a tight window, the smallest difference of arm strength can be the difference between a pick and a completion. And the way the Jacksonville defense has been playing, converging on those throws and making it incredibly difficult to gain a yard, I just don't see how the Cardinals are going to be able to put together anything consistently. Jacoby Brissett had the most completions in a game in NFL history, and they lost by like 20. So I don't think they're going to let that happen in Jacksonville. They're not going to really have an easy time running the ball. Trayvon Walker is out for this one, so maybe that'll make it a little bit easier for them. But at the end of the day, you still got Devin Lloyd back there. You got Foye Oluokun, two of the better run defenders at the linebacker position. Devin Lloyd's going to be on Trey McBride all day in coverage. He's the toughest linebacker he's had. McBride's had in coverage all year. So that's going to be an interesting matchup because if McBride can get open consistently, maybe Arizona's offense has a path to scoring points. But if he can't, it's going to be a long day. I think Jacksonville's going to keep everything in front of them. They're not really going to allow for many big plays. Los Angeles scored 6 last week, and both of those scores were because of great field position given to them by the defense. So I don't think Arizona's going to score a lot. I don't know if Jacksonville's going to score a lot. I just think they're going to score more.
I think it's important to look at the run games in this one. Jacksonville, for all their faults as far as down-to-down reliability, does have an explosive run game with Travis Etienne and with Baishal Tootin, who I think on film continues to play really well, even if the yards per carry doesn't always bear that out. Then you look at Arizona's run game, you might be getting Trey Benson back. I'm not certain about that. And that would certainly matter for them because he does bring an explosive element to that attack. However, Jacksonville's linebacker room, you mentioned Evan Lloyd, you mentioned Foye Oluokun. This is a revenge game for Dennis Gardeck, who they aren't really using as an edge rusher anymore. He's just playing Sam linebacker, and he's playing it well. I mean, that's got to be the best linebacker in the NFL. You love a good Sam linebacker.
Yep.
I love how they added that position to Madden. It's like there are like 8 guys.
Yeah, when they finally add it, it's not as important as it was again. When I first watched Campanille's Jags defense this year, early on in the season, I was like, is Dennis Gardecki just playing Sam? Like, is he just playing a strong side linebacker? He's not an edge. They're just running. They're running Sam Mike Will right now, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's how football is meant to be played. But yeah, it's going to be a tough uphill battle for the Arizona offense. And again, we talked about teams that have fight or at least have life, and it just feels like Arizona doesn't. They have a decent roster, but they're just not really playing with any fire, any life. And Jacksonville, for better or for worse, they do have life.
As the last word on this game, I think you mentioned Marvin Harrison is still out. Michael Wilson, some people are going to be saying 15 for 185 last week. I know. I'm proud to say that I streamed him in one of my fantasy leagues where my receivers are Garrett Wilson and Brian Thomas Jr. and Brandon Ayuk, who I don't even think is a member of the 49ers anymore. I don't know if you saw that, but
yeah, I saw that. Did he get cut or he's going to get cut? Injury settlement.
My guess is that the contract language, they were able to cut him loose without penalty because he wasn't like doing his part in the rehab. That is unverified. It's just when I've seen similar situations, that's what it tends to be. He tore his ACL like over a year ago at this point. And some of us were fucking stupid enough to draft him. Fantasy. That's upsetting.
Yeah, so they voided his contract, citing failure to attend team meetings and team activities during knee rehab. So he just not a part of the team.
AWOL. Huh.
Yeah.
That explains the language that they use talking about him, where it's like, is Brandon Ayuk even in the building? Turns out, no, he was not. But Michael Wilson, I watched all those catches. It was kind of what you would expect. It was quick out routes. There was stop routes, the occasional comeback. They were leaving him open underneath, and Jacoby Brissett was hitting them. It's a nice game for Michael Wilson. He's a nice player, but I don't expect him to be a difference maker, and I don't really even expect him to be like some bona fide number 2 moving forward. He's a solid third guy to have in the receiver room.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing that dirty work, right? It's just when that's the only thing that you can do, it's just going to be hard to move the ball. And I think I expect him to have another big stat line this week because I think Jacksonville's going to I think they're just going to, you can take those, but you're not going to be able to do it consistently enough to beat us. So we're not concerned.
Next in line, we have an NFC North matchup. The 4-6 Vikings headed out to Green Bay to take on the 6th 3-1 Green Bay Packers. The Packers favored by almost a touchdown, and that's making me a little nervous. It's been widely publicized how rough J.J. McCarthy has been as the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback. Yes. I mean, we haven't seen McCarthy yet. We just know that 9 is ass. They got to sit 9 down, and they got to give this McCarthy kid a chance.
Yeah, how much worse can J.J. McCarthy be, really?
Here's the thing, though. Yeah, McCarthy's been really bad. His accuracy, in particular, has just been horrendous. It's the placement, but it's also just the missing guys high, sailing that ball and having it picked off. It feels like there are some plays where he's not really trusting his eyes and trusting his arm, and there are other plays where he's trusting his arm way too much, and he's getting baited into mistakes. But did you see his last drive against the Bears? I believe it was a go-ahead drive.
I did, yeah.
That was a different QB, Victor. That was pretty surgical. He's had flashes. He's been banged up. I'm just saying, there's a world where McCarthy is able to put it together. At the end of the day, he started, 6 or so games in his career? I know he's been bad. Give him a chance, is all that I'm saying. Also, he's had 10 big-time throws. 6.6% big-time throw clip. The arm talent is there. The aggression is there. He can make every throw you got in your playbook. He had a stellar ball, I think it was to Jordan Addison, where he layers it right over the linebacker in that just utterly perfect breadbasket spot where Addison can kind of work back to it, and that sends the defensive back flying past him. Just a to-the-inch perfect ball. We know what McCarthy can do. I'm not going to say he is going to play this game. I'm just saying that there's a chance. As for the Packers, just got to avoid the mistakes. I mean, the offensive line has to play better. That's a big part as well. But one thing that kept the Giants around was drop passes.
Out for the season now, right?
Oh God, did I not hear that?
I think
see him on IR.
I think they announced it like a couple of weeks ago, or like a couple of days ago. I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Oh no. Oh, leg fracture.
Yep.
Oh, that's fortunate. Excellent. All right, so the offensive line is going to be even worse and even less cohesive. We've struggled picking up studs so far this year against a Brian Flores defense. All right, this just got even more unnerving somehow. The last thing I want to talk about is I mentioned Jordan Love before, how he's playing well. More and more kudos to Jordan Love. Constantly under duress, the way he is able to navigate the pocket, not just replace the blitz, but it's all the subtle angle stuff, the way he's able to keep his platform clean and then use his arm talent to throw from unorthodox angles and hit just completely unexpected downfield shots. Jordan Love this season has had a ridiculous volume of he hucked it up and you assume it's about to be intercepted, and then it just finds Romeo Dobbs' chest 25 yards downfield. And then he drops it because everything is starting to go wrong. The defense has to convert on the interception chances. We didn't do that. If McCarthy throws us 2 or 3 passes and we don't intercept them, I don't know. That could be a game-losing factor. I did pick the Packers. I picked them 24-20, but I think this game is going to be closer than Vegas does.
Yeah, for sure. The Giants, it's just, the Packers, it's just been weird because everybody has this notion that, yeah, they're just a really great team. They are, though. They should be. They should be a really great team, but they're in dogfights with the Giants. They're just not playing as good as they should be. They're losing to the Eagles in disgusting games, So what's really wrong with this team? Well, my X factor for this game is, can Green Bay catch the football? Can the receivers catch the football? That's a big part of it. But also, it's just you lost 2 of your best players in the offensive side of the ball. Elgton Jenkins out for the rest of the year now. So's Tucker Kraft. Like that hurts. There's no way around that. You're not going to be able to run as good of an offense as you was. And the way Tucker Kraft was playing, I mean, they were running behind him as a run blocker, and he was their main target as a passer. Like that is one of the more underrated. I mean, he's one of the more underrated players. He's starting to get his flowers, and I absolutely love that. But that team was running through him really at that point. Whenever he got hurt, he was really starting to explode his stat line. His receiving stat line was really starting to explode. So just a tragic loss for them there. And then defensively, it's been good though. I mean, not too many concerns defensively. Carrington Valentine has stepped up as your number 1 corner. I mean, probably not a long-term number 1 corner, but at least somebody who could start for you. It's going to be a big week for him though. You got to prove it against Justin Jefferson. Even though Justin Jefferson's been not Justin Jefferson-like this year, that's actually my matchup to watch, Justin Jefferson versus Carrington Valentine, because this is either the week that Justin Jefferson announces he's back, or it's the week that Carrington Valentine announces I'm here to stay. So we'll see on that. And another thing with J.J. McCarthy is with his accuracy, an underrated part of it is that he just has not yet found a feel for how fast to throw the ball. He's just zipping balls through Jefferson's hands because he's throwing it way too hot in a 5-yard in route. You just can't be throwing that hard. And when you're throwing like a low ball down and out towards the sideline, he's just going to zip it in there when it should be a slightly softer ball. He's just not found that touch yet. It's there, but it's just really, really inconsistent. So again, we look for him to improve on that. It's going to be a tough game for Minnesota to win, but with the way Green Bay has played offensively, they have a chance to be in it. But I do think Green Bay is going to win this game. Parsons will get his against Christian Darrisaw. They're not used to pressure coming off that left side. I do think he will at least get a couple of them. You can't completely neuter Micah Parsons in a game. And then interior offensive line for Minnesota. We talked a little bit about Green Bay not picking up stunts and twists. Minnesota has been awful at that all year. I think Jeff Hafley is going to have a time. And I think Devontae Wyatt, look for him to have a big game as well.
We often talk about how sacks in large part are a quarterback stat. One thing I never see mentioned is drops are also kind of quarterback stat.
Sometimes.
J.J. McCarthy gave up 6 dropped passes last week. And look, that was bad. His receivers let him down on multiple occasions. That's one of the reasons that I think McCarthy maybe has a little more hope this game than some people are making him out to have. However, you know what other quarterback always leads the league in pass dropped rate when he's out there playing? Anthony Richardson. The pass or the drop splits between Anthony Richardson and whoever the Colts ran out there when they benched Anthony Richardson who was that? Who did they sit Anthony Richardson down? Carson Wentz?
No, it was Flacco.
Yeah. Anthony Richardson had like 7% more drop passes, so definitely dial up the touch a little bit more. And then a last note on this team, there are LaFleur hot seat calls. I disagree. Not only has he shown enough as far as his ability to lead this team, I do still really like the play design, especially what we've talked about before with him. The shotgun run game remains inspired, incredibly deceptive. He's leaning into his offensive lineman's strengths. The problem is they just don't really have any strengths right now. Zach Tom is the only even above average run blocker on this line. Josh Jacobs is getting hit in the backfield. That really is my biggest factor to watch is does the Vikings defensive line step up in this game or no?
Yeah, I think it'll be close. Also, an underrated thing, like you said with drops, it is sometimes a QB stat. I had this the most highest EPA loss due to drops in the top 3 are Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward, and Bo Nix. All those guys inaccurate and inconsistent with their velocity of the football in certain concepts. So there's something to watch there when you're especially looking at college quarterbacks. Like, do they deliver it with the right amount of touch? Because that's an underrated thing.
There's such a thing as an undroppable ball, at least like if you're a good receiver, not me playing flag football. All right. 2 teams with winning records. The just mercurial is maybe the word I'll use. 6-5 Carolina Panthers taking on the 7-4 San Francisco 49ers, and whatever is left of their defense. I think it's pretty much just Bryce Huff at this point. I don't want to be the one to take the first crack at this game, so all yours.
All right, let's do this. Well, if there's one thing I'm known for, it's being wrong about the Carolina Panthers. It's because I love Bryce Young and I love this Carolina Panthers team so much. I've been in love with this team for 2 straight years. I love the way they play football. Is it a good way? No, but is it fun to watch? Yes. I pick them to win crazy games and then they get blown out, and then I pick them to lose easy games and then they blow them out. I don't know what happens. I think I'm probably 0-11 on picking Panthers games this year. I'm really excited to go back and chart my picks because I guarantee you the lowest percentage percentage of picks gotten correct will be Carolina. So apologies to Panthers fans for this, but I'm picking Carolina, baby. Give me the Panthers to knock out the 7-4 Niners. Bryce Young, 448 yards, 3 touchdowns last week. Played out of his mind against Atlanta, who he always plays out of his mind against, admittedly. But I think there's a difference this year in Carolina's pass attack, and that's Tetairoa McMillan. He's playing arguably better than any rookie receiver, and that includes Emeka Egbuka. Now, this is probably just because we haven't seen Egbuka play in a couple of weeks because he's been hurt, but Ted has played really well. I mean, it's exciting to watch the way he's opened up this offense, and I don't see a reason that stops against San Francisco. That secondary is not great. Like, they're fine, but there's nothing stopping Young and McMillan from connecting consistently. The tight ends, Sanders and Evans, have been really, really solid out of the backfield. I think the Niners lost another linebacker to injury this week. I think they did.
I think Tatum Bethune is out, yeah.
Yep, so that's
played well for them.
Yeah, in a pinch, he's played well. He was like the 4th linebacker coming in. So now they're down to like what, D Winners and whoever number 5 is. So Jatavion Sanders could have a big game. Lee Gett is fun to watch at least. And the Niners are just, they're out of stuff on the defensive line. You know, everybody's hurt. And man, the Carolina run game has been good this year. Rico Dowdle has been able to keep them ahead of the chains. I think that they will have a downhill game this week. Carolina's offensively will. Now, you still have the worry of San Francisco and Brock Purdy, and their offense will also have a downhill game script against Carolina's defense because everyone has a downhill game script against Carolina's defense except Atlanta. But honestly, I'm going to pick Bryce Young to win them that game. It's just going to come down to the fact that I think Bryce Young and this Carolina offense have more juice. I think when it matters more, they are able to convert better. Now, no, they don't have anybody like Christian McCaffrey. They don't have anybody like George Kittle. That worries me. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be an offensive-heavy game, but I need a massive performance out of Nick Skirton. We've talked about him all year, how he's been good, but he hasn't really had that breakout performance yet. This is the game to go show him against a hurt Niners offensive line. This is the game for Bryce and this team to really announce we're here. So I'm picking them to win, which means they're going to lose 30-13 San Francisco. But my pick's going to be Carolina 31-28.
Vegas is giving San Fran a touchdown. I think it's going to be a lot dicier than that. I have the 49ers barely pulling this one out, 24-23. And a big part of that is actually that I don't really trust the 49ers offense right now. And I know against some of the most hapless defenses in the league, I've said things like Kyle Shanahan is just going to be able to get this offense out of trouble, even though that they're hurt. The Panthers are one of the worst defenses in the leagues in the league in terms of roster talent. I think that Ejiro Evero has done a pretty commendable job punching above his weight class so far this season.
They really have.
I think that there are things that could go wrong for the 49ers. Brock Purdy posted a really nice stat line. He was spotty in his first game back. Look, it's probably going to get better. He's probably going to play good ball. I'm just saying he's probably also not going to be some lights out unbeatable quarterback in this one, especially if Bryce Young is having a good game on the other side. I'm also not sold on Ricky Pearsall yet in his return. He's had some big games. I know that. He's not a bad player, but watching his tape, good route runner, underwhelmed by his ability to change direction and to win tough catches. He's had some nice tough catch wins. It's not really the going up and winning a jump ball. It's I'm running a comeback, and because I didn't change direction very explosively, the cornerback is draped on me, and I kind of trapped the ball on my belly and then went to the ground. Look, he's a perfectly fine football player. It's just I think some people are making him out to be this huge difference maker right now, and I'm just not confident that he's there yet. I think CMC is going to have a huge game. Trevin Wallace is probably going to sit this one out. Panthers linebackers have missed a ton of tackles this season, and Trevin Wallace is probably the best one that they got. So, yeah, I do have more faith in the 49ers than I do over the Panthers, who have just hurt me one too many times. But I am sneaky excited to see this game. These are two more likable teams, two teams that have been underdogs throughout the season. Gotta love what the 49ers are putting together this year, where last year it was all the vibes are off. Everybody is getting hurt. This year it's everybody's still getting hurt, but the vibes are great in San Francisco, and we're going to keep on keeping on. So whoever wins this game, I'll be happy for.
It'll definitely be a fun game. And if Carolina does win this game and Tampa Bay loses, Carolina will be number one in the NFC South. And even if it's just for 1 week, it's going to be a beautiful week. But this is a serious team, at least. And I think it's one that they're a dark horse for a wild card spot right now. And I don't think they're done. You know, they've got a couple of defensive playmakers in that secondary. J.C. Horn and Trayvon Merrick. I mean, Merrick isn't the most consistent guy of all time, but man, he can make plays. He can provide a spark when you need it the most. And honestly, why I picked the Panthers was I think this game might come down to the last few drives. And if you give me one quarterback when it comes to we need points, we need a drive, go out there and get us points, I think I'm going to take Bryce Young over Brock Purdy right now. I just am. Last week, when we were watching that game, Atlanta scores the late touchdown. And it's like, man, this game is over unless Bryce Young can go down and score. And I realized I trust Bryce Young to do that. Like, I expected him to go down and do that, put together that drive and tie that game, send it to overtime. And then when they went to overtime, he put together another drive and he won that in that game. So I think he wins them this game, but I think it's really close. And San Francisco will not be at all surprised if they win. I think they're both really solid teams, and both teams that have playoff expectations at this point. Not necessarily expectations for Carolina, playoff hopes.
Even Mike Jackson has been a really nice quarterback for the Panthers this year. You can see the defensive back end and the secondary coaching that Ejiro brings, where you just don't really see blown zone assignments anymore. They had a couple at the beginning of the year. It hasn't felt that way since. I'm making a bold prediction right here on our weekly predictions episode. Well, okay, so let the record show I'm picking the 49ers, but in my stupid bold prediction, Panthers win this game. Then they go and upset the Rams next week, November 30th. They get the bye week. They're red hot. And then they lose 3-18 to the Saints.
That makes sense. That's the most Carolina thing to do. It will happen.
Okay, we have 2 games remaining. Next, we are headed to the NFC East, where the 8-2 Cowboys take on the 4-5 getting tired, Victor. The 8-2 Philadelphia Eagles take on the 4-5-1 Dallas Cowboys. Philly only favored by a field goal, which I thought was really interesting. And look, after diving into this game, I do kind of get it. Feels like the Cowboys defense is getting to be a little bit less of a liability. They got DeMarvion Overshown back, which with the linebackers that they were trotting out there previously is a big deal. I love the way that they
So
utilized
excited.
him in his return against the Raiders. 25 pass snaps, 3 run snaps. That's how you do it. That's how you lean into a guy's skill set. That's how you take care of a player returning from injury. That is a big deal because if you saw the way that they were just getting gashed over the middle of the field in both phases, it was ugly. Meanwhile, for Philly, Kevin Patullo's play calling has become really a concern for the Eagles, really in every phase, with utilizing talent correctly, with coaching up the offensive line to pick up stunts, with drawing up unique run game concepts to get Saquon Barkley in space. Really, all of it. I mean, this is one of the most painful offenses to watch in the NFL because it feels like there is so much more ready to be unlocked. And I just don't know if we're going to see it. So that is my matchup to watch for this game. It is the stoppable force versus the movable object. Who's going to come out on top? I did side with Philly, but 24-21. I expected to pick Philly in a blowout, and I'm not going to do that. I think this is going to be a really interesting divisional game.
And you know what? There's always that factor, like you said, of a divisional game, and especially when the Eagles and the Cowboys play each other. These teams dislike each other straight up. And it's not more evident than many other rivalries that the hate is there in this one. And Dak always comes to play in this game. So I really do think this is going to be a close game somewhat. I'm going to pick the Eagles 24-17 because I as bad as Philly's offense has been, you got to give them credit defensively for how well they've played over the past couple of weeks. They held Green Bay to 7. They held Detroit to 9. Like, that's just unbelievable. Jalen Carter, just a true game wrecker in the middle. Jalix Hunt has had a good season on the outside. Kenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, maybe a couple slow starts there. They have picked it up down the last part of the season. Zach Bond's still a stud. I mean, this defense is just full of great players doing great things. And obviously, they've got one of the best defensive play callers in the league at the helm, Vic Fangio. So I don't think Dallas will be able to do it and carve them apart. I think it'll be a similar Dallas game that we saw against Denver, where they're just playing this really good line when it comes to generating pressure, and they're playing a nice secondary. Dak's going to throw a pick or two. They're going to struggle to run the football. They've really struggled to run the football over the past couple of weeks. I don't see that changes in this game. So it's just going to be tough to move the ball. But if Dak plays some hero ball, Dak is a high variance quarterback, and there's always the chance that those passes that just barely get picked, barely score touchdowns. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe a couple of plays go their way and Dallas wins this game. Easily winnable game. I think this might be a nice get-right game for Philly on offensively, at least, because the Cowboys corners are so bad that it's like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, like that talent is going to come over everything. As bad as Patullo's play calling has been, as inconsistent as it has been, I think my biggest problem with it is that he's just not putting his best players in good positions. He's trying to reinvent the wheel or whatever. He's just doing weird shit when it's just like you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts. Get them in positions where they can use their abilities. They're great football players, and let them be great football players. And it seems like they're trying to run an offense that doesn't fit that skill set. But any offense you run against this defense with that amount of talent is going to score points. So I'm going to pick Philly. I do think this has the potential to be a really good game, though.
If I'm remembering correctly, these two teams faced off in Philadelphia in, I think it was Thursday night, the second NFL game of the season. Am I right about that?
That was the first game. That was the opener. That was 24-20 Philly.
What about the Brazil game? Was that after?
That was Friday. That was Chargers Chiefs. Yeah.
So this was the opening matchup of the NFL season. I think the Eagles defense has changed a lot since then. Yeah. One thing that drew a lot of comments is obviously Jalen Carter gets thrown out. I think it was for spitting super early on in that one.
Yeah.
Brutal mistake. And it felt like that was the story of the Eagles defense. They were making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, busted coverages, blowing contain, missing tackles. I was watching the Packers offense because I was trying to figure out what Green Bay's fundamental issue is, doing some self-scouting there, I guess. And I was watching us against Philadelphia, and it kept occurring to me, okay, that run was actually coached up pretty well. It was well designed. Nobody blew their assignments. That was a good enough block. You got a little bit of movement. And it didn't go anywhere. the way that Vic Fangio is using this quarter system to just send guys flying into the box and filling their run responsibilities immediately from the front side, sealing the back side on wide zone concepts. That is the definition of defensive cohesion. I throw that word around a ton. If you want to know what I mean, just watch the way the Eagles defense is playing right now. It helps that they just got dogs at every level of the field. I mean, this linebacker room, Jahad Campbell has essentially been
I
benched.
didn't mention him.
Like, Nakobe Dean is back, and Nakobe Dean is a good enough linebacker that they're sitting down Jahad Campbell and using him as a rotational backup. And Jahad Campbell has been fantastic this season. I think those are both like genuine tier 3 linebackers in the NFL, like bona fide good starters, fringe top 10, top 15 guys. They just casually got 3 of them. I think I called the Jags the best linebacker trio in the NFL earlier. Philly is another absolute contender. Zach Bond just doing his thing. I really like Brian Schottenheimer's offense. I like it a lot more than I thought that I would. I love the way that he uses misdirection in the backfield. I think they've done a great job leaning into George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and exploiting those matchups, setting Dak up in the position to be aggressive and do his thing. But I think it's going to be a different story. I think it's going to be more of an uphill battle for the Cowboys to put up points in. That's why I sided with Philly. One more note. Just feels like if the Cowboys win this one, it's going to be a Brandon Aubrey long kick game winner. Just throwing that out there.
71-yarder for the win would go incredibly hard. I really hope that happens. I like that you called out the Schottenheimer offense, though, because it feels like it's the polar opposite of the Patullo offense. Let's put our best guys in great positions to make plays. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't work because you don't have as much talent on the offensive line as you wish you had, or it's just not your day, right? But it feels like the offense is built around, let's let Javonte Williams go one-on-one with a linebacker. Let's let Dak Prescott have a chance to make a great throw over the middle, and let's let CeeDee Lamb get in space, and let's let George Pickens make an incredible catch in the end zone. And that's what I love to see from an offense that may not have all of the pieces to be great, but they definitely have some great pieces. Maximize those, and that's why this offense has been so good this year.
We've reached that time. Our
The
final
last
game.
one.
It is the 6-4 Pittsburgh Steelers headed to Chicago, taking on the 7-3 Bears. Speaking as a NFC North fan, Victor, it does not feel like the Bears are 7-3 to me. They have had some just absolute squeakers against bad teams. I think they beat the Raiders on a blocked kick, and so I don't exactly know what to think of Chicago. Vegas thinks that they're favorites in this one at home, has them favored by 2.5, and I get it. Jalen Johnson coming back, but who did you pick here?
So this was the toughest game to pick. It looked like the toughest game to pick going in, and it ended up being the toughest one because at first I thought I was going to pick Pittsburgh. I really did. And it was because it was like, yeah, Chicago, man. I looked at their schedule and I'm like, they haven't beaten a good team. They have 7 wins and not one of them has come against. Like, I'm going to read you off their wins real quick because I want you to understand. When I say this, I don't mean like, oh, they don't have a big win. I mean that their wins are over the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Saints, the Bengals, the Giants, and the Vikings. Most of those are by 1 score. They beat, and then those wins, they beat the Cowboys by 17, credit to them. Beat the Raiders by 1, the Commies by 1, Saints by 12, Bengals by 5, Giants by 4, Vikings by 2. They're not a good team, maybe. They're a solid team. It doesn't feel like they're a good team, but I'm going to pick them. I really am, because at some point it does come down to, if you can get into those 1-score games, who's better at winning those 1-score games? Why do you think the Broncos are 9-2? Because they're great at winning 1-score games, and the Bears are just good at it. Ben Johnson is a fantastic head coach. It's clear in year 1 what he's done for that culture, what he's done for that brand. We're now in Chicago. The expectation when you're in a close game is we're going to find a way to lose this. Right now, you see Chicago in a close game, like Ben Johnson said it best. Did you ever have a doubt that they were going to pull it off? Like, it just feels like it's inevitable right now with the way Caleb Williams is playing, as far as I just refuse to take sacks. For better or for worse sometimes, but he just doesn't take sacks right now. I mean, like, it's insane. One of the biggest shifts I've ever seen from a quarterback. Like, all the shit that we were like, oh, he's a rookie, and now all the shit he tried in college isn't working. He needed a year to figure it out. Now it's working. he was untackleable against the Giants. And I think that'll track against Pittsburgh too. This Pittsburgh defense, we're used to it being top 5, and it's still good. But the reason I feel like this team has felt a little bit less intimidating this year is because that defense is gone from like the 4th best to the 12th best defense in the league. And the difference then is that this defense can't carry this offense. And now the offense is just not in a place where they can win games. So they'll beat bad teams and they'll lose to good teams. TJ Watt, he was once really, really good. Now he's good. He's good, but he's just not that level anymore. Cam Hayward, elite in his prime. He's still a really good player, but he's just not that game wrecker anymore. Jalen Ramsey used to be really good. He's not that guy anymore. He's still solid, though. They have a lot of good players, not a lot of great players. And I think that Caleb Williams will be able to stay clean for most of this game. And when he isn't, he'll be able to escape the pocket. He'll be able to find his guys. I like a lot of these matchups. I really do. I like Rome Odunze on the outside to have a big game here. I like DJ Moore underneath to make a few plays. I like Luther Burden to make a couple of plays after the catch. Colston Loveland could be a factor. Cole Kmet could be a factor. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to take Chicago 23-20 because I still do think that Pittsburgh has something offensively, and Chicago's defense is by no means good, but I just think that Chicago, it's going to be a close game, and I'm picking Chicago because I think they're a lot better at winning close games than Pittsburgh is.
So I've been keeping an eye on the divisional rival, and I have watched a lot of Caleb Williams tape this season. And it always occurs to me after I get done watching his film for a game, I don't really know whether I'm watching the 13th best quarterback in the NFL or like the 27th best quarterback. And it occurred to me that one thing, besides the fact that he's just breaking all of those sacks now, which is a huge asset that he has. Last year, he was a really solid QB in scramble drill. It's just that he got buried in the pocket so often, he wasn't able to get into scramble drill and show that a ton. So this year, he's sustained that. So that's one part of it. But he also has this new aspect to his game. And I think this is the Ben Johnson factor. I think that Johnson has unlocked this. Within structure, Caleb Williams has legit anticipation now. It's the ability to use some touch and to hit that post route or to throw an outbreaker on time on the sidelines where only your guy can get it. And it's not consistent because if that first read isn't open, he probably is going to eat the football and he probably is going to have to break a sack and get into scramble drill. So that's got to be cleaned up. But just that ability to execute a Ben Johnson play design, because I mean, I'm all the way sold on Johnson. I had some doubts, if you even want to call him that, early in the season. He satisfied me in that regard. He's a top 3 offensive play designer in the NFL. But Williams' ability to execute in some of these really big spots is, I think, what has separated him in large part from a guy like Justin Fields, who just doesn't have any anticipation at all. Williams also obviously has a big arm. And when you're feeding the ball to really good playmakers, yeah, I am going to give the Bears some benefit of the doubt in this one. I have them winning a close game, 25-23. The Steelers defense, I covered why I don't think it lives up to its fullest potential. One of the least creative, most predictable blitzing teams in the NFL. Ben Johnson has teed off on that historically. You're going to send a predictable blitz. We're going to hit Colston Loveland down a seam route, or we're going to dial up a back shoulder for Rome Odunze, or we're going to dial up a well-disguised tunnel screen for DJ Moore. And I think that's going to be the difference-making factor. We've seen some life out of Pittsburgh's defense. One factor I didn't mention during that breakdown that I should have is the fact that Cameron Hayward had like 12 batted passes last year and had 0 prior. And since that episode, he's had 3 batted passes. Like, a batted pass is about 3/4 of a sack. So that's another thing that matters. But ultimately, I don't love the Steelers coaching. And I hate to say it, but I like what the Bears have going. And that is why I picked Chicago.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. The Bears are a matchup-based team. They win when they can get their guys in advantageous positions, which is all what the Ben Johnson offense is about. The trick plays aren't there to, we're going to we're just doing this because we can. It's there so that we can get our best guy on their worst guy. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown getting these weird flea flicker passes coming from like the backup kicker wasn't just some accident. It was designed to get Amon-Ra St. Brown there. And right now they're designing it so we can get Rome Odunze on one-on-ones on the sideline or over in the middle of the field. It's designed so we can get DJ Moore in space underneath. And I think that's where Caleb Williams, like you said, the anticipation has improved so much. And we see it improve from game to game, snap to snap. Early on in the season, I felt like we saw a lot more of like a crosser's coming open across the field, and he waits a beat. He's not confident in that throw, and that affects his accuracy because once that window's like half closed, he's like, but he's in the middle of this throw because he waited. He's unsure. I don't know if I should be making this pass, so it just comes out wobbly, and he sprays it. That's happening less now because he's getting more confident in those throws. A crosser's coming across the middle. There's still got a man on him. There's a linebacker underneath. He's going to throw that ball now, and with generally decent accuracy, there's still room for improvement there, but you're seeing a lot more confidence from him, and confidence from a quarterback like Williams is always necessary, and I love that we're seeing that. I think they're going to be able to beat up on, like you said, the Steelers' predictable blitzes. If Ben Johnson's able to get one-on-ones consistently with his talented guys, his guys aren't going to lose. So I think it's going to be a pretty long day for the Steelers defense. They'll still get theirs. They're still a talented defense. They're good at keeping stuff in front of them. But I do think Chicago will be able to move the ball reasonably well, and I have a lot more trust that they'll be able to do that rather than Pittsburgh.
I think the Steelers offense can hang with Mason Rudolph. I don't think it's that tremendous of a drop off from Rodgers to Rudolph. You know what you're getting.
Isn't Rodgers playing?
Oh.
Maybe he's not.
I know he was questionable. We should check this as the last note on the show. I heard it was more of a health thing than a paid thing, is what he said, which kind of implies that he felt like he could go. Status still uncertain, questionable versus Bears. So it might be Rodgers, it might be Rudolph. If you're hurting in a fantasy league and Kenneth Gainwell is available on waivers and it's PPR and it's Mason Rudolph, I think you should take your chances with Kenneth Gainwell because I'm expecting about 12 receptions for about 35 yards.
Also,
stack up those PPR points.
If Rodgers does play, I'm a little bit more concerned about my pick because there's nobody who loves beating the Chicago Bears more than Aaron Rodgers.
And that is a great point. You know, he still owns them.
Yeah.
All right. I'm feeling like it's time for a break personally. What about you?
I think so as well. We're going into break. We probably won't see you next week. Hopefully we'll get another episode after the week. At the very least, over the next couple of few weeks, we will figure out a way to get a Pro Bowl episode out.
Happy Thanksgiving, ladies and gentlemen. As always, stay full and stay hard.